OpenCode is an open source alternative to AI-driven development tools like GitHub Copilot and Claude Code. Now, the nice thing about OpenCode is that you can very easily wire it up to a locally running LLM, which is what I have on my network now. So in this episode, let's talk about how to configure OpenCode to point to a local LLM, and we'll put it to work fixing bugs and implementing new features entirely on our local network.
No place like localhost. No place like localhost.
Okay, installing OpenCode is pretty straightforward. There's instructions on OpenCode's website. You can run one of these commands to get it installed. When you first launch OpenCode and bring up the model list, you're going to see a few open source options available here. And if you scroll down, you can see some popular providers. You can set it up with ChatGPT. You can hook it up to GitHub Copilot. You can enter your Anthropic API key. These are cloud hosted options that are available to us. But we don't do that here. The whole point of this is to set up a local LLM, which I've done. I've got it running in the server in the corner there. It's on a server called Jupyter. I want to point OpenCode to my local server so that we don't have to worry about things like token limits, rate limits. The cloud server is down today. You can't access it. You're dead in the water. Subscription fees have gone up. You need to pay more money. We don't do that here. I'm going to point OpenCode to Jupyter. Now, the way we do that, let's exit out of OpenCode. We want to edit in your home directory .config/opencode/opencode.json. Let's bring that up. It's empty. Great. If we go back to OpenCode's website and go to the documentation, click on providers and scroll all the way down to custom provider, there's an example here that we can copy, paste, and modify. Let's do that. Let's copy this and paste it in here, and let's just tweak it so that it points to Jupyter. I'm going to create a new provider called Jupyter. And I'm going to say that it's local. I just want to put the word local into the name so that when I see it in the list in OpenCode, I know I'm dealing with a local server here. The URL to access it is http Jupyter on 8080/v1, and we can set up a model name. Now, the model name that we list here is just for showing in the OpenCode list of models. It doesn't have to match the actual model name that's on the server. I'm running Qwen 3.6. This is the model we're going to be testing with today. Let's say local model Qwen 3.6. Okay, now optionally, we can also set up limits. We don't have to do this, but we can tell OpenCode about the context size that we're dealing with. So let's say context 128,000. And output is 65536. Now, we don't have to do this. And by the way, this is not configuring the server. We're not driving configuration from OpenCode to the server. It's the other way around. We're telling OpenCode what the server is configured to. When I started Qwen, I started it with 128,000 tokens of context. And we're telling OpenCode now, by the way, this model on this server has a limit of 128,000. And the reason we might want to do this is that OpenCode has a feature called session compaction. If you start to get close to your context limit, I think once it gets up to 85 or 95%, somewhere in that range, OpenCode will execute a feature that is called session compaction. This is where it goes through your session and it tries to remove redundancies or compress it down to avoid overflowing that limit. OpenCode can't do that if it doesn't know what your limit is. So we're as a courtesy, we're telling OpenCode, by the way, this model on this server has a context window limit of 128,000 tokens. Okay, let's save that. And let's start OpenCode again. And if I go to the models list, I should see now at the bottom, we've got Jupyter as an option, and local model Qwen 3.6 is showing up. That's great. Let's pick that. And it confirms, it shows you right underneath your prompt window here that you're on local model Qwen 3.6 on the provider called Jupyter. Excellent. Okay, great. Let's start putting this thing through its paces. I've created a Java class with 3 bugs in it of varying levels of subtlety. Let's see if Qwen can find all 3 bugs. Let's start down here. I'm doing a system arrow out arrow print line to output something to standard out. This is not C++. This is not how we do this in Java. It should be system.out.println. This is a very obvious compiler error. Any LLM worth its salt should immediately find and fix that problem. That's number 1. Let's scroll up a little bit. We've got a method called setCounter. Now in the Java docs for this method, I mentioned that the input has to be between 0 and 10. I mentioned it twice. But if you look at the code, The code is validating that the input is between 5 and 8 and rejecting anything else. This is a classic case of somebody came in here and updated the code but forgot to update the Java docs, or vice versa. Now, technically, there's not enough information here. There's not enough context for the LLM to know which is correct and which is wrong. So I wouldn't expect it to actually try to fix this. I would expect it to just flag it for my attention like, hey, there's a discrepancy between the docs and the code, but I don't know which one is right. But let's see what the LLM does. Now, if we keep scrolling up, there's a third bug here. In the Java docs for the class, I say this class is thread safe, exclamation mark. That's a yellow flag if you ever see that, because, is it? Is it thread safe? I've got a private volatile int. This is another kind of yellow flag. A very common mistake with junior devs is to assume that the volatile keyword in Java is magical and it just makes everything thread safe. It doesn't. For example, I've got a method called increment counter atomically. The method name has the word atomically in it. And in the comment, I say increments are counter atomically in a thread safe manner. And then we're doing counter plus plus. Now, if you're familiar with Java, you know that the plus plus operator is not an atomic operation. This is actually 3 different operations wearing a trench coat pretending to be one operation. In fact, behind the scenes, this is a read, followed by a modify, followed by a write. 3 operations. And in between any 2 of them, another thread could jump in and read or modify the value that we're incrementing, leaving us in a bad state. So this is not thread safe. There's 2 ways to fix this. You could either mark the method as synchronized, which prevents another thread from jumping in while this method is executing, or you could replace volatile int with atomic integer. I don't have a strong preference here. Either approach is fine as long as it fixes the bug. I might have a weak preference towards atomic integer, but let's see what Quen makes of this. So I'm going to say, take a look at the what is it called? Thread safe counter.java file and fix any problems that you find. I'm going to put problems plural as a hint that there's maybe more than one there. It should spot the syntax error immediately. Let's see what it finds here. Let's take a look and see what it did. Okay, so it fixed the obvious bug. Great. It fixed the thread issue by adding synchronized to both get and set counter. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Oh, look at this. Look at what it did here. Okay, interesting. So it made an assumption. It recognized that the Java docs and the code were out of sync, and it just decided to change the code to match the Java docs. That's an interesting choice. It didn't. Did it mention that? Fixed 4 issues. Fixed range check to match the doc comment and param annotation. So it just assumed that the Java docs were correct. So that's interesting. So I'll give it 2 out of 3 there. I'll give it 2.5 out of 3. It recognized that the code and the Java docs were out of sync, but it just arbitrarily decided to fix the code to match the Java docs. That's arguable. Okay, so partial success there. I wouldn't say that was a blazing, super amazing success, but it did find all 3. Okay, let's give it something harder. Let's start a new session. I've got a library that I've been working on called MCP Lite. We're going to talk about this library in future episodes. It's a pure Java implementation of the MCP protocol. It's just a hobby project. It's not production quality, but it's just to help understand how MCP works. And in future episodes, we're going to wire it up. Now, MCP Lite implements partial support for the MCP protocol. I've got tools and I've got resources that you can expose through this library. That's great. But if you look at the specification, the MCP specification, if you scroll down, there's also prompts. A first-class feature of the MCP protocol is that an MCP server can also serve up prompts, save prompts that the LLM can use. That's a neat idea for a feature. Why don't we try that? Let's get Quen to implement support for prompts in our MCP library. Okay, so I just give a little bit of background about the project. This is a pure Java implementation of the MCP protocol. Currently, only tools and resources are implemented. Please follow the existing patterns in this code to add support for prompts as well. Client applications should be able to implement an MCP prompt interface and register it, and then the MCP server should respond to prompts list and prompts get. And go. And it's going to start probably by reading the code and trying to understand the project. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to mention this library has a built-in demo application, an example application that exposes example tools and example resources that we can test with MCP Inspector. I forgot to mention that. and suggest that this thing should also modify the example application to provide an example prompt that I can retrieve through MCP Inspector. Let's see if it figures that out. I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to see if it recognizes that, hey, this library application has a built-in demo example application, and I should probably expose a sample resource, a sample prompt, I should say. Let's see if it figures it out. Let's let this run and see what it can do.
I booted up on my own machine. No login wall, no waiting screen.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I was watching that as it worked, and let's review. Let's review what it did. It looks like it did all of it. It recognized that there's an example app built into this library, and it updated it. It looks like it wrote tests, unit tests for it. All 91 tests pass. It added wrapper objects. It handles MCP. Okay, so prompt not found. It handles register prompt, unregistered prompt. It handles prompts list and prompts get. It issues the prompt capability in initialize. Okay, let's bring up IntelliJ. And where do we want to start here? Let's start by running the test and just verify that there were 70-something tests before. Now there's 91 and they all pass. Okay, great. Let's take a look at what it did. It added an MCP prompt interface. This is what a client application would implement to provide a prompt, name, description, arguments, messages. Okay. It added JSON transport classes for this stuff. That's fine. Did it update the documentation? It didn't. It skipped the documentation. That's not ideal, but okay, let's take a look. Let's go to MCP server. What did you do in MCP server? Okay, so you can register a prompt. It does some basic sanity checking. So it looks like it followed the pattern. It added Java docs. That's great. It followed the pattern of tools and resources. You can register and unregister a prompt. That's great. If we scroll down a bit, there's a handle prompts list. Returns a list of all prompts, and there's a handle prompt get. I don't need that. You can handle prompt get to retrieve a specific prompt. Okay. And it updated the example app. What did you do in here? You added a new example prompt. Accepts a topic argument, a topic to discuss. And please discuss the topic. Okay. Okay, that's extremely basic, but all right. Okay, so let's fire up the example app. Should be running on localhost 8080. Now there's a command. But actually, before we do that, let's pause here. Let's take a look at OpenCode. One of the things I love about OpenCode is it tells you how many tokens you've used in your current session. And because we gave it that upper limit, we told it what the token limit is in the server, it can give you a percentage. You're 61% of the way to hitting the limit of your session. That's great. So let's exit out of OpenCode. There's a command, which I can never remember, to start a tool called MCP Inspector. I aliased it to MCPI. So it's npx at model context protocol /inspector. Great. Let's fire that up. This is an open source tool that should open in the browser. Here we are. Okay, localhost 8080 MCP. That's great. Let's connect. Okay, so the previous stuff, resources are still there. My example resource is still there. Hello, this is a static resource. Tools are still there. I can list my example tools, supply dummy arguments, and run the tool and get a dummy response. Great. But now, it also supports prompts. Let's try this. List prompts. I get an example prompt. It accepts a topic argument. Let's say, I don't know, ancient history, anything, whatever. Get prompt. Darn it. Darn it. I was on the verge of being impressed. Here. Okay, so I got some kind of horrible error here. Invalid union. This looks like a JSON error. It didn't quite correctly implement the JSON spec. Let's kill that. Let's, instead of me trying to debug and fix this, let's take this back to OpenCode. Let's reconnect to that session so that it's got context. We're only 61% of the way to our context limit. So, all right, let's try this. Okay. So retrieving the prompts list works, but when I try to retrieve a specific prompt, I get the following error, and I'm just going to give it that raw JSON output. And let's see if OpenCode itself. Let's see if Quen can find and fix this problem, because I don't want to debug this, right? The whole point is to get the LLM to do this niggly work for me. So let's see what it can do. Okay, it looks like it did something. Let's just review what it did here. So if I scroll up, okay, the error indicates that the messages array should contain objects with a content field, not separate role and text fields. According to the protocol spec, a prompt message should have the following structure, but we serialize as. Okay, so it made a mistake in the initial implementation. It didn't get the JSON to generate according to the spec, so it went through and corrected. So Quen, buddy, Quen, you're not building my confidence here that you didn't get this on the first kick at the cat, but let's see what it did. So it made a code change, it ran the test passed, but that doesn't do much for my confidence here. This matches what MCP Inspector expects. Why didn't you do that on step 1? Quen, why didn't you do that on step 1? Let's exit out. Let's go back to IntelliJ and let's just verify that all tests pass. We do. Stop the server and let's relaunch. Okay, and let's go back to MCP Inspector. Let's try that again. So we connect, we get the prompt list, example prompt, enter a topic, geography, whatever, get prompt. Okay, an example of a prompt that accepts a topic argument. Please discuss the topic geography. I'd be happy to discuss geography. What would you like to know? Okay, so it got it on the second attempt. That's not super impressive, but it got it. I mean, it just implemented a non-trivial feature in an existing library with no previous exposure to that library. So it read the entire code, it wrote the test for it, the test pass. I was able to manually verify it with MCP Inspector. What else can we do to make sure that this code is actually high quality? One thing we can do, if I minimize this stuff, let's go back to OpenCode. I'm in a new session here. I'm not going to reconnect to that previous session. I'm going to say, so I'm going to get Quen to review its own work. Now, one option that we have is we can stop Quen on the server. We can switch to a different model to get a completely fresh, objective look at it. But let's just go with this. Let's get Quen to review its own work. I'm going to ask it, take a look at the uncommitted changes in this directory. I give it some context as to what we're changing. And then I just ask it, have we introduced any bugs? Does the new edition look good? So Quen now is going to take a look at the Git log, the Git diff, and take a look at what changed. There it goes. It's looking at the Git, and it's going to do a code review of its own work. And let's see if it just spots any obvious problems. Okay, let's take a look at this. So all 91 test pass. Here's my review. Overall, the addition is solid, well-tested, and consistent with the code-based style. So Quen thinks that Quen did a great job. That, of course, isn't bulletproof. We've already seen that Quen can make mistakes, but still, this was a pretty solid effort. I was pretty hands-off for that whole thing, other than the initial prompt where I told it what I wanted, and that follow-up prompt where I helped it debug that JSON, the malformed JSON problem. I didn't touch the code at all. This thing did all the work. That's pretty cool. Cool/scary. This is the death of my profession, maybe, but it's still kind of neat that we can have a completely local AI code assistant that can do this stuff. We just use 31,000 tokens of context for the code review, plus what was it, like 70, 80,000 for the, I mean, it cost us nothing. It doesn't matter how many tokens it cost because this is completely local. So we can just hammer this thing. We can throw all kinds of coding tasks at it. Okay, great. So in the next episode, we're going to set up agents and skills in OpenCode. We can give OpenCode more of a personality, make it a little less robotic, a little more fun to work with. That's great. But more importantly, we can give it rules and guidelines to follow when it's doing things like coding, documentation, unit testing, code reviewing. We can make it more effective at what it does. We can get that accuracy up. We can hopefully build our confidence in the tool as we go. And we're going to throw more and more complicated coding tasks at this thing. We're also going to be building up this MCP Lite library as we go. With the goal of doing an episode on MCP, how to set up a local MCP server, connect your local LLM to your local MCP server, and what kind of cool things you can do with that once you've got that up. So yeah, stick around. We have barely scratched the surface of what we can do with this now that we've got it wired up into a coding harness like OpenCode. Stick around, much more AI content still to come. OpenCode is an open source alternative to AI-driven development tools like 3, 2, 1. and let's put it to work fixing bugs and implementing new features on our local network. Holy shit, that was a terrible intro. That was bad.